Micromotor madness. Scale down, drive big.
Hey everyone! Welcome back to Micromotor Madness, your go-to channel for everything mini crawlers, scale RC builds, and tiny model magic. Today we're picking up right where we left off in the last video, the one where I showed you how I built a compact, mobile indoor crawling track for 124 and 1/18 scale rigs. You guys voted and named it Mini Moab Adventure. Epic name, by the way. Remember how that first version was painted for a clean finish? Well, it turns out paint doesn't hold up well. After a few test runs, the paint started peeling, and honestly, it didn't look great anymore. So in this video, I'm showing you how I totally reworked the track surface to make it way more realistic, and way more durable too. We're gonna use a super simple and budget-friendly method with white glue, natural dirt, some small rocks, and a few modeling tricks to get a track that looks super natural and holds up over time. I'll also show you how I added scaled down scenery and little details to really bring the circuit to life. And of course, at the end of the video, we'll run a quick test with one of my tiny Jeeps on the finished track. As you can see here, this is actually my first test on a mini track I built right on my workbench. It lets me test the cars right after finishing a build. For today's video, Mini Moab Adventure, I didn't film the entire building process, so for the parts I didn't document on camera, I'll be using footage I had previously recorded while building the course I made for my workbench, the one you're seeing in the image right now. That course was designed with much more attention to detail. I really took my time to make it as photogenic and as realistic as possible. What you're looking at is basically a wood board where I did my first trials. And this method is super simple. Just brush on some white glue, school glue or wood glue works, sprinkle your dirt and small rocks on top, and let it dry. Then, mix glue with water and spray it over the whole surface to lock it in place. As you can see in the shots, it really sticks. You can't peel it off, not with your fingers, not with the tires. It's strong, clean, and totally indoor friendly. All you'll need is a quick vacuum now and then. No mess, no loose dirt or stones. It stays put. And visually, it's crazy how real it looks. I'm sorry guys for the mess on my workbench. I'm currently juggling a bunch of projects at once, so my desk has basically turned into a scrapyard full of spare parts and tools scattered everywhere. By the way, if you're into this kind of content or if it gives you ideas for your own builds, feel free to subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second and it really helps me keep making these videos. A like or even a quick comment would mean a lot. Even a thumbs down if you think I'm totally off name. Honestly, all feedback is welcome, and since the channel is still small, every bit of support makes a huge difference. Thanks guys. Check this out. Here, I'm running a little Dodge Charger over the finished surface. And as you can see, the tires don't rip up anything, and they stay clean. The whole look is super convincing. We've already posted a video about building this Charger, but I made quite a few upgrades after that, like switching from a brushed motor to a brushless setup. I'll post a full video on that soon. As you can see, it handles beautifully on this new track. Let me give you a little sneak peek before the video comes out by sharing a few details about the components in this build. Right now, it's running a GAC Racing brushless motor that's just chef's kiss. It's so smooth, I love it. Might even upgrade more of my rigs with it. The motor is controlled by a 40-amp brushless ESC that I usually buy in bulk on AliExpress. It comes with a built-in 5-volt, 2-amp BEC. I typically order just the bare cardboards, and then I add the heat sinks and resistors myself, and solder everything together. It ends up being way cheaper. Each ESC costs me between $8 and $10. And honestly, it works great. It's a reliable and efficient solution for this kind of setup. The chassis is a Hobby Plus CR24 fitted with Petrozzi shocks that I ordered from Fair RC website. I also installed Injora sliders, and the axles are from the CR18, also by Hobby Plus. For power, I'm using a 600 mAh battery from Hobby Plus, which provides a solid charge capacity. As for the radio system, I'm using a compact 4-channel receiver from Dumbo RC. It's small and works perfectly for a 1/24th scale rig like this. Step 1. Lay down the glue. This part is important. You want an even coat, not too thick so it doesn't clump, but enough to hold the dirt. I like using a big flat brush and work in small sections so the glue doesn't dry too fast. Be sure to protect your work area. Glue can get messy. Don't be shy with it. More glue equals better hold. Once the glue's on, start sprinkling your dirt. I grab little handfuls and scatter them all over, mixing the colors and textures to keep it interesting. I make sure every glued area is fully covered. Then I throw in some small rocks, especially in places where I want it to look rough or rocky. Try out different dirt types and see what you like best. Before we dive into the build, here's a quick rundown of what I used. For glue, I went with regular white glue, the kind you get at a craft store or hardware shop. School glue or wood glue both work great. It's cheap, spreads easily, and dries hard. For dirt, I just grabbed a few types for my backyard: light dirt, dark dirt, sandy stuff, and small stones of all shapes and sizes. Choosing the right texture and colors really adds contrast and realism to your track. I use a big paintbrush to spread the glue, and I sprinkle the dirt on by hand to make sure every spot is covered. Then, to lock everything down, I make a homemade spray. 30% white glue, 70% water. Super easy and super effective. I haven't published any videos in over 4 months, but that's just because of work. That said, I've actually been super busy behind the scenes and filmed a ton of stuff. For example, I've tested a bunch of underrated brushless ESCs, really affordable ones, and honestly, they work surprisingly well. They're great alternatives to the big brands. And the fun part is that you get to assemble and pre-wire them yourself. Super satisfying. I've also tested a wide variety of motors, including some brushless drone motors that I modified to try out in RC crawlers. And let me tell you, it worked. These things deliver tons of torque. You'll get to see all of that soon on the channel. There are also several vehicles I built completely from scratch, fully customized, including paint jobs and everything. I built a classic 1979 Bronco, a 1/25th Revel scale Jeep Rubicon, and even a red Mercedes G-Class. Plus, I made 2 custom Slayers, one with a carbon fiber chassis and the other with a chassis made from wood and plastic sheets that I laminated. I sealed the wood, and it's surprisingly strong. These are proper camp crawlers, super capable, and one of them cost me less than $100 to build, honestly, almost nothing, because I reused leftover parts from other builds I had upgraded. But performance-wise, it's a beast of a crawler. All of this just goes to show that you can build high-performing camp crawlers, Slayer-style rigs, without spending $300 or $400 on expensive kits from the internet. All right, folks, if you're enjoying the vibe, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and tap the bell so you'll know when the next video drops. It helps the channel a lot, and honestly, it keeps me motivated to keep sharing all this RC madness with you. Applying a coat of water-diluted glue over the entire surface after spreading the soil and small stones isn't sufficient to permanently bond all the finer elements. However, since the next step involves detailing the scene with synthetic grass, additional gravel, and various shades of sand in the wheel tracks to add realism to the model, we'll be applying glue again at that stage. The initial glue spray helps moisten the surface soil, especially the parts that didn't fully absorb glue during the first application. This improves adhesion, even if only partially. After laying down the dirt and stones, let it dry. I recommend leaving it for at least 24 hours. Then, prep your glue spray. 30% glue, 70% water in a spray bottle. Spray the whole surface thoroughly to lock everything in place. This step makes the terrain super durable and keeps the dirt from coming off every time your rig drives over it. Pro tip, glue can clog your sprayer, so shake it well before use, and maybe keep a second bottle ready just in case. If you want to add bigger rocks, go heavy on the glue. Pour a nice amount where you want the rock to sit and press it down. Once dry, it won't budge. Trust me, it's solid. As for the scale detailing on Mini Moab Adventure, I mainly used grass and a few artificial bushes that I bought on AliExpress. You can really find everything there, and there's something for every taste. The synthetic grass comes in all kinds of shades: greenish, bright green, dark green, even yellowish. You can also find different types of colored sand, small stones, and even ready-to-use miniature accessories. That said, if you want to keep things simple and budget-friendly, you can also collect natural materials yourself. Every time you go out, just grab a few small rocks or a bit of sand and store them in little bags. Over time, you'll build up a nice palette of natural textures and colors for your future build. So I tore down the fragile bridge that was kind of beautiful but useless, and I replaced it with a slope instead. Why? Because now I can test uphill and downhill performance, which is way more useful. I used whatever materials I had: cardboard, foam, broken bits of wood, even the old bridge pieces. Key thing here: build a solid base. The goal of this video isn't to show you how to recreate this exact course. It's more about giving you some inspiration. I'm sharing a few simple techniques that I use to build mine. These are super basic methods that let you create a fun course quickly, something you can enjoy with your kids, your friends, or just on your own. It's really just about using glue, simple materials, and some hands-on work. Nothing complicated. These practical techniques make it easy to build your own track where you can have a good time with friends or family. So yeah, that's the idea. After destroying the bridge, I decided to make a slope with two different inclines, 50 degrees on one side and 68 degrees on the other. This double-faced slope will allow me to test how well the vehicles can handle climbs at different angles. It's a great way to evaluate their performance in realistic conditions. I'm building it with whatever I have on hand. The slope is already pre-shaped in polystyrene, and I took the time to carve out the wheel tracks directly into the surface. Then, I reinforced everything with polyurethane foam to give it more strength. For the final layer, I covered the whole thing with plaster strips that I moistened before applying. Same technique I used back in my very first video when I built that earlier course. And since today's video is focused on the surface finish, I also took a moment to show some of the updates I've made. The course has evolved a bit since the original version, so I thought it'd be worth sharing those changes with you. For this kind of course, there are 4 key elements you really need to build a track like this. First, polystyrene, then polyurethane foam, plaster sheets, and finally, glue. These are the 4 essential components. And with just those, you can create something that lets you enjoy your hobby even during those harsh winter days, right at home, indoors. It really gives a whole new dimension to the experience. Next, I added an elevated curve. Yep, we're getting fancy now. Same building method as the slope: cardboard, foam, and even some expanding polyurethane foam. Once the foam dried, I carved it with a knife to shape it how I wanted. Adds a ton of depth and makes the layout way more interesting. What I do next is apply another layer of glue directly onto the surface, gently tapping it in with a brush. I do this before placing the artificial grass. Then I spray the whole area again with diluted glue, this time without waiting for it to dry. That way, the wet artificial grass gets heavier and sticks better to the glue underneath. Finally, once everything is dry, I use undiluted white glue and apply it carefully with a brush, dabbing lightly across the surface. This helps lock everything in place without disturbing what's already been laid down. The glue looks white at first, but it dries completely transparent, revealing only the surface texture underneath. So, that's a quick overview of the process I follow. Keep in mind, this was my first time doing this. You'll definitely come up with your own ideas and techniques. The most important thing is to just dive in. Once you get some practice, you'll find your own methods. And you might even end up doing a better job than I did. I didn't film the step where I sprayed the course surface with the glue and water mix, but I hope my explanation was clear enough for you to understand the basic idea. Once the terrain was all set, I started decorating. I added fake grass, bushes, little trees, logs, all that scale realism stuff. I even carved some tiny ruts in the dirt to look like tire marks. Using different textures and earth tones brings the whole track to life. Here's the final result. Looks supernatural, right? I'm gonna run my little Jeep. It blends into the terrain perfectly. Now, this is more of a showcase track than a super technical one, but it really makes the cars pop on camera. You see what I mean? Way better than a car crawling on painted foam. That just looks flat and fake. This is real dirt, real rocks, real texture, and it shows. Sure, this track isn't meant for hardcore crawling. It's more of a display piece, but it's perfect for showing off the custom builds and mods we've done. Next up, I'm planning a much more technical track to test these rigs for real. We'll compare performance, make upgrades, and push these tiny crawlers to the limit. For the mini Moab decoration, I simply used some artificial grass, a few large and small rocks, and one little fake tree. Nothing too fancy, unlike the course I built on my bench work, where I added way more details and took a much more meticulous approach. Just so you know, by the time I'm filming this video with the Jeep running through this course, it's already been a full year since I built it. So this track has definitely stood the test of time. As you can see, it still looks exactly like it did on day one. Sometimes I publish videos about builds that were actually done a year before, or even longer. I just don't always have the time to upload regularly to YouTube. It takes a lot of work, and since I also have a day job, it's not always easy to keep up. But whenever I find the time, I make sure to share what I've been working on. Now, about the Jeep you're seeing. It was built entirely from scratch. It's a fully custom rig, and I actually have a dedicated playlist on the channel about it, under the title, Jeep Wrangler Gelanda 2 Body. It's a 3-part series. In the first episode, I show how I built the drivetrain. The Jeep is based on an SCX-24 platform, but made entirely from aftermarket parts. It features an Endura LCG chassis, and I managed to mount a 180 size motor onto the SCX-24 transmission. All the axles are stock, but heavily modified with brass parts for extra weight on the running gear. The video of the first episode is showing up in the top right corner of your screen. In the second video, I focused on assembling the RC4 wheel-drive Gelanda 2 body. For the bodyworks, I painted the roof, the door hinges and handles, and I detailed the exterior trim with things like Jeep badges and more. The video of the second episode is showing up in the top right corner of your screen. And finally, in the third episode, I customized the interior. I painted the seats and added some visual details. I even tried out floor mats for the first time using flocking powder, and the result turned out pretty nice. The video of the third episode is showing up in the top right corner of your screen. Thanks so much for watching. Hope this inspires you to build your own natural mini crawler terrain. In the next video, we're going all in with a way more technical course to truly challenge our builds. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you've got any questions or ideas. Catch you soon on Micromotor Madness. Peace.